two girls. My youngest one is in Arizona, lives in Arizona. Oh, okay, welcome back. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we reconvene.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, let's talk about, yeah. Consent agenda cases.
That's you.
Want to turn your mic on? Talking to you, Mike?
So do you want to go over each one, or do you want to accept it as a whole, or what?
Well, normally we say that we met and.
Okay, well, like I mentioned before, we all met and we went over and we voted to accept the cases that are currently administratively closed,
That we would recommend that.
that we recommend.
So you're making a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept these cases.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next
Any
one
opposed?
is, we had one case that was not sustained, 041-18. Do I have a motion?
Well,
with
We
this?
should say, why is it separate?
Okay,
from
Ed,
the
would you give us some history on this case, please? Director Harness?
Chair Waits, Board Member St. John. We simply changed the designation of the cases so that the findings for each case are described on the agenda. All of the cases that were seen by the case review subcommittee were approved for the consent agenda. The reason for differentiating admin closed, not sustained, and unfounded was to clarify the fact that even though a case is administratively closed, that there was an investigation which took place in order to make that finding and make that determination. Excuse me. So that's why we have them all listed on the agenda as under the consent agenda.
So you're saying we could actually make a motion for the whole consent agenda? So that's just the findings? And we
Okay.
didn't do it that way before, so that's.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept. Okay, do I have a motion on the table to accept all the consent agenda cases?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need a second?
And I'm sorry, Chair Waits also,
I made the
as we're
motion.
going back into monitoring, our monitor, Mr. Giaquinto, will look at this agenda and he'll decide whether he wants to look at an unfounded case or a not sustained for his purposes. So it makes it easier for him to determine the findings in the case as opposed to how we were previously designating them.
So that's your reason for doing it this way, right?
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So let's
I
do
made a
that.
motion, I need a second.
And the motion is for what?
Was to accept all the consent agenda cases as they're designated here. We're making that recommendation to the board, and now I'm making a motion for the board to decide whether or not to support it, and I need a second for the motion.
I'll second for the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed.
Okay, now you want me to go over the non-sustained?
No, that we
Non-concurrent.
just did all of them.
Okay.
Okay, so the non-consent agenda, there's
Okay.
nothing.
Okay, on the non-consent agenda, we have no cases. The non-concurrence cases, we have no cases. For review of appeals, we have none.
Chair Waits, just a point of information. At the last meeting, the board approved extending the timeline for appeal for case 038-18. We did receive a clarifying document for that appeal, so that case will go to the case review subcommittee for its next meeting for review.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Serious use of force, officer-involved shootings, we had none, right? Correct?
But aren't we supposed to be looking at the Garrity materials for, I don't see it on here, so I just want to make it a reminder to the board to look at that.
Chair Waits, board member Fine, that's correct. I-50-17, the Garrity materials voted on last month, are ready for review and have been set aside. And this case involves 10 officers as individuals, so that's why there's an extended time for review for this case.
How much time do we have left on this?
I would like to have it come next month.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I have a question. And that, what's the status of the backlog? I mean, I keep seeing different numbers changing, and, I mean, where, nothing seems to be coming out yet. And I missed the last update, maybe, so could you enlighten me, please?
Chair Waits, board member Dr. Cass, the information that you have is the only information that I have. I don't have any other insight as to what the process is. I know that it was discussed today at the status conference in front of Judge Brack, so once that transcript comes out, I will pass that along. It was an agenda item today for the status conference in front, the monthly status conference in front of Judge Brack.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Schmiel, you had told us at our last meeting that you were going to update us on the backlog. Have you anything to add here?
Chair Waits and board members, I can send you, it was produced, so what's happening with regard to the backlog is every week, typically on Tuesday, an update on the numbers is provided by Internal Affairs Division Commander Robert Middleton, and one was provided this morning, and it's going to be filed as an exhibit. It was actually filed today. My apologies on that. So what I'll do is I'll forward that to Director Harness, and then he can disseminate to you guys. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. I don't have the document with me, but that's the approach being taken. Every week there's an update, and I think and Commander Middleton isn't here, but I've been working closely with him. Next week when we have the amici meetings, we're going to have a more thorough discussion about what's been happening with the backlog, the progress made, and really just to, open things up and talk about the backlog.
And that's the
Also,
July 17th meeting?
I believe so. I don't have it committed to memory.
Is that, yes, okay.
I think it's next week. And then also, as you know, there will be the August 31st filing, which is the joint filing with the monitor that talks about progress, and those types of things. And also, honestly, talks about impediments and challenges. I think that the biggest challenge so far with the backlog has been when you look at a use of force or serious use of force case, it is really pretty dynamic from a lot of different perspectives. You have an officer contacting an individual. What does that implicate? Well, the Constitution. Do you have a probable cause, reasonable suspicion? Is it a seizure? Is it a detention? Can you arrest that person? Then, in sort of the normal scenario, you have resistance, right? And then you have to be achieving a lawful objective. So my point being, these cases are like case studies. And all of the whole exercise, and the monitor stressed this with us, with the city rather, what do you do with what you find? And you can't be, we found it, and let's move on to the next one. And you have, the numbers are 214 field use of force investigations. And then I think it's, just looking at that number, that's a significant number. So the challenge is naturally, you're looking at resources, people, you got to get the people to do it in a department that doesn't have a bunch of people just sitting around. But like I said, I think the biggest challenge is doing it thoughtfully, doing it thoroughly, and learning from it. Because what you have going on at the same time is a revamp of the use of force policies, And so it's
I
like
think
a
we
perfect
completely
storm.
understand
Yeah.
that. We're not new to this process. We've
Sure.
looked at these things. We just have been waiting for 3 years for some of these cases to come in front of us, and so,
Well, those, and Chair Waits, Board Member Fine, those wouldn't come in front of you. Those are regular, those are not serious use of force cases, to be clear. Serious use of force cases would. So I just want to be clear about that. There's a distinction between those cases.
Okay, and officer-involved shootings, I'm sure have the same kind of depth of,
And that's considered a serious use of force. It's actually a critical incident in OIS.
be more
So
clear
those
about
would-
what's not coming before us?
So supervisor use of force cases, which is an R-bar takedown, one taser application, one baton strike, those types of things, those do not go before, they're not presented on your agenda like a serious use of force or officer-involved shooting or something like that.
What I was talking about was officer-involved shootings and serious use of force cases
Okay.
that are supposed to come before us.
Right.
And so I want to make sure we get to, as we discussed last time, I want to make sure we get to all of those.
Sure.
So I'm interested in knowing how many of those on there are those cases.
And I will send that to the board. I'll send
Okay.
it to Director Harness, and then he can get it to y'all.
Thank you very much. I
Sure.
appreciate it.
Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, we don't have a meeting with council. Any other business that we might want to bring up?
Are we going to talk about the voting thing? Are we going to discuss that here?
The what?
The voting, when a board member can vote, our council,
Oh,
No,
that would be a good place for that.
it's not on the agenda, is
We don't have to vote on it.
Are we on other
it's just an
business?
information thing.
Chairman Waits and board members, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding voting requirements for board members.
So maybe just a little background, when we were talking with Julie and Moya and talking about bringing on new board members, the question came up about when a board member is eligible to vote. And there was some question as to whether that was after the trainings that occurred on like IPRA and Open Meetings Act and civil rights and that kind of cluster of trainings versus waiting until after a board member has completed the Citizens Police Academy. And it had gone back and forth, so we asked our attorney for clarification on that, and I will then turn it over to you.
Thank you. Chair Waits and members of the board, if the board is so inclined, I believe the ordinance that is in front of you that has the color copy, I believe it's there. Let me just find the location. Oh, no, excuse me, it's not. In the policies and procedures that the board has previously adopted at its inception, it has procedures for voting included in them. And what they state is two different requirements, one for orientation and one for training. And the orientation requirement is where the voting is contemplated. The required training, which is the list of the police academy ride-alongs and other types of hands-on trainings that the board members must complete, are separate in the current policies and procedures for the board. And under that section, just the clear reading of it, under A, it has required orientation, and then it states, prior to participating in any police oversight board meetings, newly appointed members must first, and then it lists two requirements. One, be trained by the staff or legal counsel of the board regarding the items that I believe board member Fine discussed, or board member Galloway, and then also attend one of these monthly board member meetings as an observer. Once that happens, a board member can vote. That is separate from Section B of the policies and procedures that talk about required trainings. Those required trainings state that each member must complete a training program within the first 6 months of their appointment, and it lists a minimum amount of trainings that have to occur. That second section does not state that it's a requirement for voting the way the first orientation section does. And because these two sections are separated, and one includes it and one doesn't. I have to assume that when the board approved these policies and procedures, it did so with that purpose in mind. And because Section A on the required orientation doesn't have a requirement of an and for voting with Section B for the required training, I believe that a reading of your policies and procedures state that one is separated from the other when it comes to voting in a meeting. It doesn't mean, however, that if a board member doesn't meet the minimum training within the first 6 months, that there are other issues with that board member not meeting the requirements of the board. So voting and training, I think, are separated based on your policies and procedures, but the timeline should kind of work together given the 6-month deadline for the initial trainings.
I think where we got sideways is when we first were established, nobody had any of the training. And that was where our question came up in committee, was now we have most of the board trained, and as we get new members, can they vote, and do the same rules apply? So the clarification really helps us and gets us away from the initial piece, which was important and an objection by the union, which they raised initially 3 years ago. So it's nice to know, and thank you for the work.
Any other comment? Questions? Comment?
Yes, Chair Waits, in discussions with your council, we think it's imperative that we examine aspects of representation of the board. And while Ms. Gooch is happy to be here every meeting, she doesn't need to be here if you don't want her to be here. So the board, if the board chooses to simply address issues with council outside of the meeting, that's an option, or if you so choose, she will continue to attend every meeting.
Any comment, board?
Maybe we should have a motion?
No, we don't need a motion on that. I'm looking for comment.
Oh. I don't think we need our attorney's presence at all the meetings. Do you guys, what do you think?
I think it's different from before, because when the idea of having an attorney of our own, the previous rendition of this board used a city attorney, which seemed like a conflict of interest and was. We were able to get our own attorney, and as we established our new presence, really needed, I think, a lot of help from the attorneys. I don't know that we're in that same place now at these meetings. I can't imagine a POB emergency in which we would have to have a legal opinion right now, and nor do I think that's wise. So I agree with Chelsea that I don't think we need it now. We can always ask, can we do this
Or
with
defer.
council?
We can defer.
We can defer it for council opinion later.
Okay. Any
Yeah,
other
I
comment?
also agree.
No comment.
Because there's been
Okay.
times we had a question and the attorney had to do research and get back to us anyway, so.
All right.
Okay, great, thank you. And then lastly, it appears that it's time to reexamine your policies and procedures and have that as an agenda item. So next month, have a robust discussion about how you would like those to be changed. I believe that it's your council's opinion that it could be done internally, and you no longer would need city council approval for your policies and procedures.
Right.
Is everything in this?
That's just voting. That memo is just
Okay.
about voting.
I would like to have a copy of the whole thing, and please don't direct me to the website. It just makes me crazy. So I'd just like a copy of the policy and procedures.
We will get that to you.
And are you suggesting that we kind of hash out any changes that we want to make during a board meeting?
However the board would like to accomplish that.
That makes me so nervous.
I'd like to weigh in on that. I think that that's a good idea, but I think it might also be a better idea if we did it in a similar session to what we attempted a couple of months ago. And, you know,
If-
that's a suggestion. I mean, we
If you
could,
would, if the board would like to, if you would like to assign it to a subcommittee, that would be an option, or if you would like a facilitated discussion as far as that goes, then certainly Ms. Council would be available to facilitate that, I believe.
Chair Waits? I could maybe make a suggestion for facilitating this agenda item for the next meeting that complies with the Open Meetings Act, which is we can designate a point person to gather ideas. And so all members of the board could communicate any idea they have, any change they would like to see discussed, and then that designated person can accumulate those ideas and then place them as individual or as, subsections of this agenda item for the next month.
So that we could see that.
Yeah, so we would all know what was coming, we could prepare ourselves for the meeting, we don't violate the Open Meetings Act, that is allowed, and maybe that would be an efficient way to do it.
I think that's a good idea. Can we all get copies? Do we all have copies?
I don't.
And I'd like to have it to where I could make,
Online.
yeah, as long as it's not a PDF. Or I can make
Just a
changes
Word
on the, yeah, Word document.
They are on the website, you can just,
I can't find anything on that.
We will,
They're on the website.
we will, well, actually, if you kept your copy from the facilitated discussion, they were provided then, but I will
or in that big
I will-
binder.
I will re-provide them.
And reason being, if it's a Word document, I put it in red and make those particular changes.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
I volunteer to accept the responsibility of receiving everyone's ideas for any desired changes to policy and procedure, which would include things like voting, a chair succeeding themselves, all things of that nature.
Things that
And then
would-
getting those items over to Chair Waits so that we have them placed on the next agenda.
Okay.
And we have to post our agendas by what point? 3 days before? Is that right?
The Monday.
Chair Waits, Vice Chair Galloway, that's correct, 72 hours.
72 hours. So then do we want to put an ideas submitted to you by date?
So you have time to,
Definitely before then.
yeah, 2 weeks should be enough.
You think?
I think
2
so.
weeks to review?
Well, you got to give her a chance to put it together.
So then do you want to say by the 27th, or do you just want to give it till the end of the month?
Whatever you guys prefer.
well, I have a question, and that is, what was the process that was followed in the original adoption of the policies and procedures?
Chair Waits,
The lawyer put it together, and we went over it.
So you
That's-
have seen these?
that's
Oh, yeah.
correct.
We passed them. We had to pass them before they were brought to the city council.
And then they were approved by the city council because they were the initial bylaws for this body.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I've seen them, but I assume that the board had some input into putting these together originally.
Absolutely.
And so I don't understand the question as to why you don't have a copy of these.
Why do you care? I don't have a copy. I want a copy. Problem?
We will make sure that they are redistributed.
Okay, I would say that if we can get our opinions, thoughts, and whatever back to Chelsea by the end of the month, that would be good. Tuesday, the 31st.
And feel free to phone me in case you want to clarify anything you've put in writing or, okay, thank you.
Or you can put it in writing, have my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You always get my
Yeah. Yes. All right.
make a motion that we adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Wait, no other business. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.